On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina.
I'm here with Goldy Simmons of the Chicago White Sox organization. Goldy, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time. Tell the listeners about yourself, if you would, please.
Uh, Name's Goldy Simmons. Been in the White Sox farm system going on 3 years now. Previously was with Kansas City Royals organization. Born and raised San Diegan, and I'm a guy. Baseball has just been my passion. Strength conditioning is another passion of mine, so I get to do both. So it's great, man.
It's awesome, man. And so we met 2 years ago in the Arizona Fall League, and that's kind of what I want to talk about on this one. I haven't had anybody talk about working the Arizona Fall League yet, and so this is some new information for a lot of coaches out there. So let's start with how you got involved with the Fall League and what your role was, and then we'll kind of progress into like a day in the life in the Arizona Fall League.
Well, it's funny you asked. I was in Great Falls, 2016. We got about three-quarters of the way through the season, and I had always told our coordinator Dale, I was like, "Hey, man, if there's anything coming up, anything you know about, I'd love to do it. Perhaps even going overseas and just, continuing to work, because that's all I wanted to do was just continue to work." And he calls one day and he goes, "Hey, man, I think I got an opportunity for you." And I'm like, "Great, what we got?" And he goes, "Would you like to do the Arizona Fall League?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, who turns down the Fall League? Like, absolutely. You know what I mean? Make a little extra change and be around some great professional athletes." And I couldn't turn it down, and I was just grateful and just kind of stunned at the moment, because I know doing the Fall League, everybody kind of wants to get that experience, and sometimes it doesn't come around, for a lot of guys. And I was like, it was unbelievable. So I took it and ended up going to being at Camelback and sharing with some of the Dodger guys, and it's an unbelievable experience. So unbelievable.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was. I was asking our athletic trainer how I got into the Fall League, because he had worked it a couple years prior, and he was like, "Well, they don't bring strength coaches." And I was like, "I'm not accepting that answer. Like, I need to figure out a way to get out there or do
Right.
something in the off season." And then my manager in Portland was like, "Hey, I'm going to be managing in the Fall League. I'm going to try to get you out there." And I was like, "Dude, I've been asking about this all year. Like, this is awesome. Let's do it." And we ended
Yeah.
up living together out there, and our team in Surprise did pretty well, and it
Yeah.
was a good experience, like you said. So, big picture, what was your role there as the strength coach?
Just taking on the various athletes, various prospects from different organizations, and just being around them every day. The new coaches, it was for a while, for a couple of weeks, it was just about getting to know the athletes, just getting to know where they come from, kind of their history, and reaching out to coordinators and things like that. But at the end of the day, it was just about them being on the field, being around and assisting them so they can get out there and play every day, because the fall league is pretty much an everyday thing. So, and they got to play, they got to be ready to play. So it was basically just kind of monitoring, and then just learning. The biggest thing for me with that experience was just learning, just being around very intelligent athletes, very intelligent coaches. So I just provided myself as almost like a sponge, and just learned, because that's basically what you're there to do, is learn the different organizations and how other people do things, and pick athletes' brains as they pick yours, and share information. And I thought that was just great. So yeah, that was the basis of the role.
Yeah, most people that are listening already know what the Fall League is, but for the people that don't, it's 5 organizations per team, and the coaches come from all those organizations, the players come, and so we had a lot of different guys doing a lot of different routines from a lot of different organizations. So I like what you said about being a sponge, because a lot of those guys are the top priority guys, and a lot of them know what they want to do and what they need to do to be ready. So it was cool to see different ways of preparing and how guys go about their business and stuff. So Would you say that was a challenge, was being able to accommodate all the different routines of all the different players in kind of a small window on a daily basis?
Absolutely, especially with like, the travel. I mean, the travel is not like it would be like in an affiliate, but every day you kind of have to, schedule a time for everybody to be in. A lot of guys aren't really used to, you know, having a set time. A lot of those guys, they've been to the show and, knowing when to come in or who's coming in and how many are coming in. I think it was just that was, if anything, that was the cumbersome part about the situation, was just trying to find everybody's routine, asking around. And it goes back to learning each individual, was, just going up to guys and finding their routine and then trying to, basically put something out there that works for everyone. So I think that was the biggest thing there. And then eventually you fall into a routine just like you do in an affiliate, and then you start rolling.
Yeah, the first couple of days were really hectic because you had like relievers from every organization conditioning, you had starters conditioning, you had a bunch of different position players lifting, and all the routines were hitting you, and you had like 3 hours before the game to get it all done. And then when you traveled, it was even less. So it was crazy,
Right.
but it was a good challenge. And like you said, especially it's such a short season. It's only like 30 games, where the first couple of weeks you're just trying to get to know guys' names, let alone what they want, what they need, and everything. So it was definitely a unique challenge. I'm right there with you.
Absolutely.
But it was definitely rewarding to meet all the people out there and all the coaches. So obviously
Question.
this connection came from that. So so yeah, anything else you got on the fall league that you want to share? Maybe people who are unfamiliar with the situation out there or how they can get involved. It's kind of a new thing for strength coaches, at least in my understanding. They've only been doing it a couple years. So anything else you want to share about it?
Not much, but if you're offered the opportunity, definitely take it. It was definitely a priceless experience, and I think if you ever get the opportunity to take upon that type of feat, definitely do it. It almost, in a sense, it almost beats kind of going overseas, because you think about it, with all the trades and free agent signings throughout the year, it could be mid-year and you get a guy that you had some experience with in the fall league. So I think that experience is definitely a priceless experience for sure.
Yeah, I agree completely. And Arizona's awesome. That was my first time out there, and I'm planning on moving out there next off season, actually, just because I loved it so much. So we'll get together. We'll get together when I'm out there. But all right. So shifting a little bit, you actually won Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year in 2016 in the Pioneer League. So first off, congrats on that. That's awesome. But
you.
can you tell me what you do that makes you successful? Because it's an award, as most of the listeners know, that's voted on by your peers in the league. So clearly people see you, they see you're doing something right, and they voted for you to be Strength Coach of the Year. So what is it that you're doing that's making you so successful?
I think at the end of the day is just trying to build relationships, and I think out there, the only real thing that you have exposure to from a different organization or a different individual or strength coach running program is, you might get lucky, you go to their affiliate, you go inside their weight room, you kind of see what they're about, how they work, how their players work, the work ethic that comes through them, through their players. But at the end of the day, if that's not the case, the only thing that you really see is a stretch, a 15-minute stretch possibly every day. So I think the biggest thing is just trying to build relationships and get to know people, you know what I mean? And it's not so much about the award, people can care less, I think, about the award I get. It's a great, it's a great award. It's definitely something, you want to have, under your belt. But at the end of the day, it's the strength conditioning part of it is just getting to know people, building relationships. Because, like you and I, who knows if I'd be even on this podcast if we hadn't built a relationship in the fall league, you know what I mean? So it's just about building relationships and getting to know people, and, to be, elected is awesome, to think that your peers seeing you as somebody as, likes to build the relationships, likes to establish, getting to know personalities, and, you just kind of see other people and just be around, day to day, and to be elected is just awesome, that people, think of you in that manner as someone who goes about their business in the right way, especially out on the field.
That's great, man. Yeah, that's really good. I try to get over to visit the guys when they come in to see us. If nothing else,
Yeah.
just for your own sanity, because sometimes it gets lonely and you're the only strength coach and you got nobody to talk to. So when other teams come in and you get to see their strength coach, it's like, yes, I get to talk to somebody about what we like to do. So that's good stuff, man. Along those lines, what do you believe in general makes a strength and conditioning coach successful? Big picture success.
I think the biggest thing is having passion for what you do, really loving and trying to thrive in whatever it is that you do. I think in this industry, you and I both know it's ever changing. Trying to keep up with the times, as they say, is tough to do, because you turn around and there's articles here and there, there's books here and there. So I think just having a passion for it and letting that expose itself at the end of the day. People know, people know who's in it and who's not. I think you can tell. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of pride myself on, is being a baseball player and strength coach at the same time, is, you just have passion for the game itself, along with the strength conditioning part. So I think that's one of the things that would make an individual very successful. And to have success in the strength conditioning industry is, you have to have the passion, the want to get better in this industry and help others get better. That's another thing, is wanting to be around and helping others get better as a strength coach.
Yeah, I agree completely. And being able to speak the language of baseball and strength and conditioning is probably huge. And this wasn't in my notes that I sent you, but we were talking a little bit off camera about your playing days. So do you think your playing days professionally have helped you in your position as a strength coach in professional baseball?
100%. 100%. Because, for somebody who's coming out of the, per se, the clinical era, where you're just kind of working in the building, you don't have exposure to the travel, you're not dealing with, high priority athletes, things like that. I think actually playing the game and having an understanding, not only mentally, but physically, about the game, another priceless, experience, being on that field, understanding what your athletes are going through mentally and physically at particular times and throughout the season. That's definitely something that I'm glad I was able to experience. Very grateful to the White Sox organization for giving me the chance to, share the knowledge that I've learned as a player, and now being able to translate it in the strength world is unbelievable. So
it's definitely a great card to have in your back pocket at any time. And speaking of, there were rumors that you had won a home run derby in the fall league.
Oh, man.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard some rumors.
Yeah. Aaron Rowan, he was our manager that year, and I think we were headed on like week 5, maybe closing in on week 6, and they were like, all right, maybe it's time for the staff, to hit. So Rowan, obviously very talented, but also very, very, very competitive. He goes, let's make it a home run derby. So we're like, all right, cool, let's do it. So we go out there. Everybody had 10 swings, and I had hit two homers, and I think Rowan hit 1 or something like that. So I guess I can go down and say I beat Aaron Rowan in home run derby. So it was pretty funny. It was cool. He got a little heated, but at the end of the day, it was all fun and games, man. Great times.
That's awesome, man. Congrats on that as well. Rowan was a really cool guy. Anytime we went to your place, we were always in the third base dugout. So I was always looking forward to talking to him when he was coaching third, because he just had so much fire, and any day, like first game of the season, last game of the season, it didn't matter. Like he was full go, and it was really cool to get to speak with him and just see his passion for the game of baseball still, even though he's not playing anymore, just how passionate he was. So
he's very passionate, very intelligent, and he's a guy that will take a guy in the outfield every day and hammer different drills day in and day out. I mean, and that's what made him successful at the major league level, if you ask me, is his just general passion for the game. And that goes back to, you and I talking about having passion for what you do in the strength world to be successful. And I think he absolutely has that as a coach, manager, whatever it may be. Great guy.
And kind of big picture, like we talked about, all the coaches in the fall league are like that. And to be in an environment like that and around those kind of people every day, it's an experience that, like you said, if you get the opportunity, you have to take it. So it was definitely an awesome experience. So what do you believe in within strength and conditioning that others think you are crazy for believing?
That I'm crazy for believing. That's a tough question because there's so many people out there in the strength world that have their own ideologies about certain things. So can we really call it crazy? I don't think so. I guess if that was the case, there'd be a lot of crazy strength coaches based on that. So I don't, if I had to say, if there was anything that would make anything remotely crazy or a thought of mine that would make, I guess, me seem sort of crazy, man, if I could, I would, as an athlete, former athlete and strength coach now, I would do strongman competitions, man.
Yes.
I would do strongman competition. Look, and I see you on IG, man. I'm like, he gets it, man. He gets it. Always total body strength, baseball related strongman.
Dude,
I would totally do it.
That's so awesome to hear you say that. I have a few buddies that do strongman, and I haven't actually competed yet, but I do the event training on Saturdays, and I'm really into it, and I'm planning on it next off season. But as a retired athlete, that's like the closest to feeling like an athlete I get, is like there's some speed involved, some agility. You have to carry heavy things around. You have to be athletic and strong. And I mean, if nothing else, like how cool is it to say you like deadlift a car or something? You know what I mean? Like just way out of the box, where like powerlifting for me is just squat, bench, deadlift. It gets kind of boring, repetitive after a while. But strongman, it's like, hey, there's a big giant boulder on the ground. Go pick it up. Figure out how to do it. So
figure it out,
dude. When I'm in Phoenix next year, we'll get together and we'll start training for it.
Hey, sounds like a plan to me, man.
So, do you have any advice for others in the field? Clearly, you're clicking on a very high level here, working the fall league and being the strength coach of the year. Do you have any advice for others in the field?
I would say for those who are just starting in the field, the baseball realm, the professional baseball realm, and I think this goes back to the experience I've had as a player, and not only as a strength coach. Definitely do your homework about it, because it is a grind. You and I both know that's day in and day out. It's a grind. The bus rides, the meals are definitely not major league caliber, so definitely do your homework in that regard, and adapt. If you haven't already, adapt a passion for the game, because at the end of the day, you're going to be watching 140, 150 games of baseball. And if you don't like to watch baseball, it's going to be a struggle. And that, I think that for me is where the passion comes in, is loving to watch baseball at the same time. Not only loving to be a strength coach, but just loving watching the game of baseball day in and day out.
It's really funny when you tell people like what you do for a living, and you're like, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I do this, and they're like, okay, whatever. And then you're like, I watch baseball every day, and they're like, oh, that's an unbelievable job. Like that part of the job just gets people fired up, and like you said, you find out real quick if you really do enjoy this or not. I mean, I've talked about it before on the show, but I started in Bristol. You played in Bristol. Like, the kind of grind the minor leagues presents when you're in those levels. And if you don't enjoy it, it's going to expose you really fast. So that's really good advice.
Absolutely. It's not always smooth sailing. Not always. You got to learn to adjust, learn to adapt to, different things that happen, because in the minor leagues, what can go wrong at times will go wrong for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you talk about passion and loving the field. Where are you going for continuing ed? Are you reading books? Are you attending seminars, listening to podcasts? Where are you going for your continuing ed?
Right now, taken on 2 certifications, the PBSCCS, just as something to keep me going, something to keep me educated, read articles all the time. Believe it or not, just through the connections that I have with people that are in the field, I pick their brains, and I think that's one of the things that, as far as education is concerned, I think experience, tapping into others who've been in the game for long periods of time, tapping into their experience is one of the greatest forms of knowledge you can have, especially for us younger guys, tapping into our coordinators and our major league strength coaches' minds and people that we've been around in the industry for, the years that we've been in it, just seeing their thoughts on certain things. And, because at the end of the day, experience is sometimes, more practical and it's more of a use than the actual textbooks that we sit and read. And then not only that, just supplemental reading, reading textbooks that maybe have nothing to do with baseball, but maybe just for the athlete's conscious, you know what I mean? And just learning things, diet, nutrition, just general health and wellness, just reading typical reads.
Yeah, with all the experience you guys have on your staff, I understand that answer completely. Talking with your guys at winter meetings was just like, well, these guys have literally done everything and turned over every stone. So you're really lucky to have those guys out there and be able to pick their brains.
Absolutely. And I would say just being the experience that I've had, being with Kansas City and the Chicago White Sox, it's, again, priceless experiences. Those guys over there in Kansas City do a great job, as well as the guys that we have right now that I'm around and under here with the White Sox. So definitely fortunate.
For sure, man, for sure. So if you have time, I'd like to do a lightning round. I know it's Friday night. I don't know if you have plans or anything, but if you have time, I'd like to do a lightning round. What do you think?
Let's go for it.
Cool. All right, so 4 questions. First one, who is your biggest influence in the strength and conditioning field?
Biggest influence? Wow, my dad.
Your dad? Okay. Cool.
I have a reason. I would just reason why.
It's up to you if you want to include the reason. If you want to keep it at dad, that's...
People are probably like, wow, he said his dad. But no, my dad was actually a professional baseball player, but was very on it when it came to strength, the strength conditioning part. I grew up in a gym as well as on a baseball field with my dad. So I credit a lot of, the passion I have for not only baseball, but strength conditioning to my dad.
So in reality, you had no choice in life. You were going to play baseball and then be a strength coach.
Yeah, it was pretty much set in stone. This is what you're doing. Whether you do it right off the bat or not, at the end, this is what you're going to be doing.
Yeah,
so.
I got you. If you could only train with one piece of equipment, what would it be?
One piece of equipment. Kettlebell.
Kettlebell. Okay. Biggest accomplishment professionally and or personally?
Obtaining a master's degree.
Master's degree? Okay, that's a good one. And last question, any career other than strength and conditioning, although you didn't have a choice from the start, what would you choose?
Man, that's a good one. Sheesh. Outside of actually being a professional baseball player in the major leagues?
Yeah, I don't think that one counts for you since you actually did play professionally.
I'm going to be like a broker on Wall Street or something.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Wall Street broker. Interesting.
There you go.
Cool. All right, man. Well, it's been fun. I appreciate your time. A lot of good stuff on the Fall League. Like I said, I haven't had anybody speak on it yet, so there's good information for sure. If the listeners want to get in touch with you, where can we learn more from you?
You can email me, gsimmons@shysox.com. I'm on Instagram, gsimmons88. Always welcome.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time, taking time out of your Friday night for me, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Chris. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. Talk to you soon.
All right, everybody. That concludes our episode with Goldy. I hope you enjoyed this one. He shared a lot of good information about his time working out in Arizona in the Arizona Fall League. 3 things that I took from Goldy: tap into the experience of others, get to know people and build relationships, and have a passion for what you do and for the game of baseball. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.